Happy holidays, world of YouTube! Welcome to the Common Sense Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Grandmaster Scott, aka Scott. Joining me, obviously, is my co-host, Finley Fiction, aka Finley. Say hello to the people, Finley.
Peace and greetings.
Yes. So, for this holiday special, we've decided to give each other gifts. Not just any gifts, the best kind of gifts you can give to anyone who plays video games and or watches anime.
Lore.
Indeed, lore. So, would you like to go first, Finley, in giving me lore? You will be giving me Pikmin lore, I believe.
Pikmin lore really isn't that complicated. This is not Five Nights at Freddy's. We already did that.
Yeah, true. So, you can go first, if it's easier on your end.
But
If it's faster to give Pikmin lore, then you can go first.
we'll see how this goes. So, Pikmin lore. Once upon a time, there was a man. Well, actually, I believe he's not really a man. He's a Hokotashin, which still nobody actually knows how to pronounce.
Ah, fun.
Named Alamar.
You said a
Alamar
Pokatashin?
is like a... What?
You said it's Pokatashin?
Oh, nobody knows how to pronounce it. Their planet is named Hokotate.
Oh,
Hokotats. No one really knows.
oh, joy.
They're Hokotation, Hokotashin, whatever.
But let's
No one
Poke move
knows.
on.
I've never heard an actual consensus on it.
Regardless, let's Poke move on.
So, he works for a shipping company by the name of Hokotate Freight.
Okay?
His ship, the SS Dolphin, crash lands on this planet named PNF 404, which is just Earth, billions of years in the future.
Ah,
If you look at what it looks like closely in like the third game, it does resemble Earth as if the continents moved over time, as they do in real life.
So post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
Earth, that can always be the greatest foundation for lore.
Yeah, he has crashed. It has I forgot how many days. It was like 32, 33, something. He has a amount of time to leave.
Okay?
Throughout the game, you collect various, his ship falls apart on his crash landing, and he has to enlist the help of these creatures he has named Pikmin after his favorite brand of carrot.
That's where the name came from? In their
They
lore?
resemble his favorite food, Pikmin carrots, so he names them Pikmin.
Oh, that's cute.
He discovers 3 different types: red Pikmin, which are resistant to fire; blue Pikmin, which can breathe underwater; and yellow Pikmin, who can carry these things called Pop Rocks.
I love Pop Rocks candy.
No, not that kind of. I think that's what they're called. They're not candy. They will explode your face off.
Oh
You
joy.
can find them in holes in the ground and dig them up, and they're like these volcanic boulders that explode.
Okay then.
You can use them to destroy walls, destroy enemies, destroy your family, anything. Pop Rocks.
Oh. Okay, these are spicy Pop
They
Rocks
also
then.
have their, what they call onions, which actually look like onions in the first game.
Oh.
The red, yellow, and blue onions.
Okay.
So, as you adventure through the game, you collect pieces of the ship. You don't actually need all of the pieces, just the mandatory ones to leave.
Yeah.
Which you can do, but if you want to 100% the game, you have to get all the pieces, which means you have to fight this awful thing named Emperor Ballblacks, which is like the king of Bulborbs,
Oh yeah, I remember him from that Pikmin-themed Smash stage.
who used to be really, really intimidating in the first game until, we'll get to that, why he's not as cool in the later games. Also, in your journeys, you encounter this absolutely disgusting thing named Empress Ballblacks, which is just a regular-sized Bulborb with an enormous butt. Produces a larva. How did they allow this in a game?
Yeah, you'd be surprised by what can pass for family friendly.
Anyway, so you fight Emperor Ballblacks, and just you fight him. I assume it's pretty difficult. I haven't actually played the first game yet. But, so you defeat him, and you get his Olimar's safe, which was eaten by Emperor Roblox,
Ah.
which contains. What does it contain? I think it contains like treasure and maybe a picture of Olimar's family, which is who he's trying to get back to.
Aw, that's sweet.
And that's pretty much the first game in general. Then there's the second game, which has a lot more story in it. So, Olimar goes home. Hoko Tate Freight is now in tremendous debt.
Welcome to 2023.
He mentions, well, their boss mentions that while Olimar was gone, he entrusted a very important shipment of golden pick carrots to a new employee, Louis. He thinks he's cool. He is not. He is a demon.
So, if it's golden carrots, does that mean this is Minecraft?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Louis claims that he just lost the delivery to like this monster or whatever, or some fictitious thing.
Just sounds like he's lazy.
He ate the golden carrots.
Ah. He is.
So, in Olimar's adventure, like, the president of Hoko Tate Freight finds out that there's a ton of treasure on PNF 404. So he sends Louis and Olimar back to Earth with a new ship, since he sold the SS Dolphin for that purposes, and gives them a new ship, which is awful, named, what was it? I think it was also the SS Dolphin, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, they take that ship, which can talk. Wow, amazing. They send it to PNF 404 to collect treasure. So, you collect treasure in this game. You discover 2 new types of Pikmin and a whole new game mechanic, dungeons, which means you can go beneath the earth to collect even more treasure.
Huh. What happened to the earth to allow the crust to turn into tunnels?
I don't know. Anyway, so he discovers 2 new types of Pikmin, white and purple Pikmin. White Pikmin are like they're both like underground fairy Pikmin, so they don't have onions. So they evolved to live underground. So white Pikmin have red eyes, which means they can like have X-ray vision and can see underground.
Oh, that's cool.
And they can canonically squirt acid
out
of their wherever their mouth hole is.
Oh, that's
just because of some commercials.
That's disturbing.
They're also immune to poison.
Oh, that's handy.
So, and the purple Pikmin are like these sumo wrestler type Pikmin. So they're bigger, they have hair for some reason, not very noticeable.
Ah.
So it's like these four strands on top of their head. And they are just absolute, just big machines. So they can like lift objects, but they have the strength of 10 Pikmin. And they can, they like, when you throw them, they like bounce. Like, they don't really bounce, but they just block. So they're very strong in defeating enemies. They're a very useful type of Pikmin.
Oh, that does sound useful.
So, since they don't have onions, they have to stay in the hull of the ship.
Ah.
Every time they leave the planet. So, eventually, they get the amount of treasure that they need, defeating various types of bosses, blah, blah, blah. So, Olimar leaves the planet with hopefully enough money to save Hoko Tate Freight, and he forgets Louis.
Poor Lily.
And now, if they had any sense, they would have left him. They would have not gone back. So, Olimar heads back to Hoko Tate Freight, saves her company pretty much. So, the president has to go back to PNF or with Olimar. Also, their ship is now plated in gold and is now really narcissistic. So they go back to PNF 404 to save Louis. And while they're here, they think, okay, let's get more treasure because there's no reason not to. So they eventually find Louis, who is strapped onto this giant pile of treasure, which is also a giant spider.
Oh!
I forgot its name. It was like the BB long legs or something.
So now this is just Moana.
Sure.
You know, with that...
They defeat it, they take Louis home, they save the day. Except if like in the games, there's these things where you can like go into the menu and like learn about all the creatures you fight. And when you look at the BD Longlegs, it mentions how Louis might have actually been controlling it.
Oh.
So Louis, hypothetically, could have been the one attacking all of them.
Wow, Louie's the worst. Well, I guess anyone would be the... Well, I guess anyone named Louis would just be...
Monster. This is just the second game.
Wow. Wow. Okay, I take back what I said before. Louis should have been stranded in the Sahara.
Exactly. Anyway, on to the third game. We are now ignoring Olimar and Louis. We have now been introduced as this entirely new planet by the name of, Kopai, which is way easier to pronounce.
Goodbye, okay.
So Kopai is going through a freaking famine like the freaking Irish.
Oh no!
Because of how large, by the way, their planets are like huge, and they're like really small people, which actually makes scientific sense.
That actually does make scientific sense, but that's also kind of funny at the same time. Big planets,
Yeah,
tiny people!
Is a planet with such a booming population, they are going through a food crisis. Their diet is mainly consistent of fruit instead of vegetables, like the Hokatations.
Wow, they're missing a lot of needed nutrients.
So anyway, they've sent 3 people. An engineer by the name of Alf, he wears blue, he's very cool.
Huh.
Brittany, who wears pink, and Captain Charlie.
Captain Charlie.
To this planet by the name of PNF-44. They sent these like things out to search the galaxy for any sort of food. They ended up deciding on PNF-404, who has a bunch of fruit on it.
Huh.
Also, every other planet was fruitless. They almost died if they didn't find this last planet.
Oh no.
So they sent their ship, the SS Drake, which is actually... The name of SS Drake is because in this game there was originally supposed to be a 4th character who was a character D. If you haven't noticed, Alf is A. B
oh yeah,
C,
ABC.
Charlie, and then we're going to get character D, who people have theorized would have been Drake. So since they scrapped that character, they named the ship SS Drake. Anyway. While they were about to prepare the landing gear to land on PNF-404, something went horribly wrong, which is a line from the game. So they lost the cosmic drive key. All three of the crew have been separated. The ship is lost. They're all gonna die.
Oh no.
So Al is their only hope. He wakes up in like a puddle. Loser. Anyway, he finds red Pikmin and their onion, which is now shaped like a strawberry. For some reason, the game has not told us why. It just is. The onions are now shaped like strawberries.
Well, I mean, this is a different planet.
Red Pikmin do not make an appearance in the game's story mode, only in the challenge modes.
That's weird.
It is weird. So, Alf finds Brittany and Charlie.
So the Pikmin game doesn't actually have
Throughout the
Pikmin.
course of the game. Brittany was like stuck in this, what was the name of it? It's like the Garden of Hope. You find her in the Garden of Hope. You also discover rock Pikmin.
Oh.
Which are these Pikmin, which are gray on the inside. So if anyone calls it black Pikmin is a freaking idiot. They have these gray inside, soft insides, but their like main body is surrounded in this rock shell, so they can break through crystal and stuff.
Oh.
Another very useful Pikmin.
Those sound
He is
useful.
them to free Brittany from the Garden of Hope. They also find yellow Pikmin.
Oh, yeah. What are yellow Pikmin like? Electricity?
Yes, in this game, I think in the second game is when they introduced the electricity concept. Because in the first game, they didn't have that idea because the developers are idiots. So, Brittany is now free. They have rock Pikmin to fly. So, they find Charlie, which earlier in the game you can play as Charlie, who discovers yellow Pikmin for the first time. So, once they just find out where Charlie is, they also discover yellow Pikmin. They free him from this bat thing, which is freaking terrifying. It was a terrifying boss fight. Anyway, you kill it. Charlie was in the mouth of it. The crew's now back together, so they have to find this thing called the Cosmic Drive Key, who they suspect to be, because, like, in this game you can find these data files, and one of them, they discover that a captain by the name of Olimar has taken the Cosmic Drive Key and wants to give it to his son as a birthday present or something.
And what is the Cosmic Drive Key again?
It is the thing that allows them to get off the planet with their ship. By the way, Alf found the ship in, like, the first bit of the game, because... whatever.
Yeah, so, hey, happy birthday, son. Here's the keys to a spaceship.
It allows them to exit the planet's gravity.
Oh, so it's kind of a faster-than-light drive.
Yes, pretty much.
Happy birthday, son. Here's something currently scientifically impossible.
Yep. So, they track down what they think is Captain Olimar. It's a really cool twist of the game where it's, like, actually Louis, and they're like, there's Olimar. He's an idiot.
Oh, no.
They take Louis back to their ship. They find out that his suit is like a freaking sleep suit or whatever, which can be finicky and can activate hypersleep.
Oh.
Captain Charlie tells a tale about how he fell asleep at his birthday party with one of those suits. By the way, another fun fact. When you get Captain Charlie back from the maw of the weird bat creature, there's now a little rubber ducky that floats around the ship.
That's cute.
So, the next morning, Louis escapes, take all of the juice they have collected, and the rubber ducky. In the words of Alf, your rubber ducky has gone AWOL, Captain.
Wow, Louis is just the absolute worst.
Yeah,
forget sending him into
all
Sahara.
Of the juice and the rubber ducky, and leaves. In the right side, they find this new area which has water Pikmin in it, not water Pikmin, blue Pikmin. Eventually, they find Louis, they take him back to their ship, he get back the juice and, more importantly, the rubber ducky. Okay, so, now they
Yay, the ducky's back.
You have unlocked the last area, which is should have the actual whereabouts of the real Captain Olimar, who has the Cosmic Drive Key.
Ah. What's going on? Oh, he's being muted. Well, in that case, just a little self-promotion. If you are all enjoying the podcast so far, be sure to subscribe. Links to both of our channels are in the description below and in the about of the channel. And I hope you enjoy these kinds of live streams. We have a lot of fun putting these together for you all. Like, these are always really fun streams to do. And, so don't forget to check out Finley Fiction. He has a video out on his channel right now for a series he wants to do called Burkington Brooks. And don't forget to also check out my channel, Grandmaster Scott. I do streams on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So that will mean I will have a stream coming soon. So I hope you all enjoy.
Sorry, my dad came into the room.
Oh, that's fine. I was doing channel promotion.
What project did you say you had?
What?
You said on my channel something.
Oh, I was hyping up Burkington Brooks.
Oh, right. Okay, so where was I? They find the actual whereabouts of Captain Olimar, who has been taken by this gold wraith thing, which looks like the Thanksgiving turkey, but gold. And man, this is the stupidest fight ever.
When Thanksgiving thanks back.
Everyone who's played this game has mentioned how they did not like the final boss.
Oh no,
I didn't like it either.
That's never a good sign.
Such a pain in the butt. So, in this game, they're like Olimar's in this like rotting log, not log, stump. And like you start off at the top of it where you find Olimar. So you have to take Olimar all the way down the stump while being chased by the Wraith. So you have to fight other enemies, you have to break through walls. It is just a lot of some time.
So when you're saying this is a baneful boss fight, Are you meaning baneful in the sense of, like, Dark Souls difficulty, or are you meaning it in the sense of, like, the control scheme of Mario Sunshine, how sometimes it just screws you over?
The first one.
Oh.
It is a pain. You die a lot. It is a lot easier when you're doing it with multiplayer, because in the new game, in Pikmin 3 Deluxe, multiplayer's a thing.
Ah.
So, it was also just really slow.
Oh,
and
that...
then you just go to the actual boss fight, so they really should have just cut out that first bit so we can get straight to this actual cool boss fight. So if you haven't lost all of your Pikmin, you have to fight the Wraith, which has a bunch of elemental themed abilities. Electricity, crystal, which is what rock Pikmin do. They go through crystal.
Ah, okay.
Electricity, crystal, fire, water. What else? I think that's it. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the winged Pikmin.
Oh.
At one point in the game, you discover winged Pikmin, which are pink Pikmin that can fly.
Oh, that's cool.
Anyway, I don't think it had actually ability for winged Pikmin to find out. Anyway, you fight it, you kill it, you have to, like, get all of its goo. Gross. Anyway, so you free Olimar, gives you the keys, like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was an incredible piece of engineering that I was carrying around. Totally work. So he ties up Louie because he literally is insane, and they go off to play it. So they, like, we didn't know this, but they suspect that, like, originally it was rumored that the reason all these captains and stuff have been drawn to the Earth is because of this thing called gravity. But no, there's a, well, I don't know if it's really a theory, but we have suspected that the real reason, there's a, like, more mysterious reason why people are drawn to the Earth so much. Because people have thought that maybe...
Hey, Finley? I'm sorry to cut you off, but your audio is starting to sound a little muffled and corrupted.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Anyway, so supposedly the Gold Ray has been drawing people to the Earth.
Oh, it's Michael punishing humanity and any who dare enter.
Moves us on to the fourth game, which I haven't finished, but I will go tell all the parts that I know.
Okay.
So this thing called the Rescue Core. Also, I'm not sure yet because I haven't finished the game.
I mean, if you don't want to accidentally mess up some of the lore or not be spoiled by our potential comment section, you can always just hold this off for another day.
Oh, not holding it off. I'm going to tell you everything I know about the skin.
Okay.
So, supposedly, not sure yet because I haven't finished the game, this is a alternate. And, well, this is a new game that branches off the alternate ending of the first game. So, in the first game, if you do not win, because in the first game, which is the only game where you have a time limit,
oh, right,
you can die. The Pikmin will take you to the Onion, and then Olimar will become a Pikmin Olimar.
Oh.
Which is kind of dark.
That is actually kind of dark. Like, I'm dead, but now I'm being reborn as another species. I mean, that just sounds like basic isekai.
The Rescue Corps has been recruited to save Olimar.
Okay.
They also have a weird dog mushroom thing called Ochi. He's adorable.
Oh yeah, I remember him from the promotional.
So, throughout the game, you have to find the crew. You also have to find just a bunch of castaways who have also been stupidly drawn to the Earth for mysterious reasons. And you encounter this leaf bling thing, which... big surprise, he's Olimar.
Oh.
Wow, it's not like it looks exactly like him. Everyone knew it was Olimar. You also find him with all these other leaflings that he's been turning into leaf people.
Oh.
You have to fight them in this stupid thing called Dandori Battle, which is just Bingo Battle, but it's in story mode, which is the stupidest thing that they've done. It's ridiculous. It's a time. Too. It's dumb. So, eventually, you rescue all the leaflings, you discover these new Pikmin types. So at night, there's a nighttime mode now.
Oh, cool.
Where you can discover these things called glow Pikmin, which are green, and they have like little star-shaped flowers that are adorable, and I love them. And you have to protect their hives, which are called, what are they called? Luminaries, which produce this sap, which can negate the effects of the leaflings.
Ah.
So these things are presumably the anti-onion, which is odd.
The anti-onion.
There's also another type of Pikmin that you find in this game called Ice Pikmin.
Oh.
They're ice. You can freeze pods, you can freeze enemies. They're cool. I'm not intended.
So anything else?
Yes, I do know more. So, yeah, rescue a bunch of the rescue corps. You find this stupid... Oh, by the way, all Pikmin types are available in this game.
Oh, that's good.
So they changed the design of the onion again. They look like onions. And in this game, they bring back the feature of dungeons, which wasn't in the third game. And you can go through the dungeons, and you find this stupid boss, which is another pain in the butt. Which is this weird gray ghost thing that rolls around on these rock cylinders. And it looks suspiciously like the Golden Ray.
Oh.
The only thing... That is so silly. The only thing that can defeat it are purple Pikmin, which, if you read its file, it says it is a creature that is morphing between dimensions.
I'm sorry, what?
So alternate dimensions are a thing in this game now.
Oh, jeez.
So, to defeat it, when you throw purple Pikmin, I mentioned that they make, like, booms. For some reason, that is what defeats it. It ripples things or some weird terminology. Anyway, you kill the stupid thing, you get purple Pikmin, blah blah blah.
Alright.
Okay, so in this game, yeah, I mentioned the rescue pup Ochi.
Yeah, you remember Pochi.
Has a tail with like a little cotton puff on it.
Aw.
Eventually in the game, Ochi will develop a little leaf.
Huh.
Which, for some reason, when you try to leave the planet after you've rescued all the people, like Olimar,
Yeah?
who they find out is a leafling, they cure him, blah, blah, blah. Ochi has developed a leaf, so they have to go back to figure out how to cure Ochi.
Oh no, poor Ochi.
Things with leaves cannot leave the planet for some reason.
That's weird.
Actually, I think that's all I know about the game, but I'm not done. There's still more for me to go into. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything.
Well, if there is anything that you don't remember, we can always save this for a part 2 next Christmas.
Okay, so, in the third game, there's a little after credit scene where a ship, like when you leave, another ship falls, which turns out to be Olimar and Louie's ship, which you thought was destroyed. They don't explain why it's not destroyed. You literally find it destroyed in the third game.
Is this going back to the purple Pikmin?
What?
Is this going to come back to the purple Pikmin, how this is an Olimar and Louie from another dimension?
No.
Oh, good. Thank God.
So, they crashed back onto the Earth, which everyone thought, oh, this means there's going to be a fourth game. So we waited 10 years, and there was never a fourth game. They made this game called Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Where they go into what happened. I haven't actually finished this, extra DLC of their story, but it is essentially just them on PS404 again.
Oh.
What was the other thing I want to say? There's one more thing. There was one more thing.
Okay.
Oh yeah, in the fourth game, the purple and white Pikmin have onions now. They have not explained why they have onions now. They just do.
Huh.
Which is stupid. I like that they have onions now. It's a lot simpler, but it doesn't make canonical sense.
That is weird.
You know what's interesting about this franchise?
What?
They made the first game, and then 2 years later they made the second. Then 10 years later they made the third, and then 10 more years later they made the fourth.
Which means in 15 years we'll get the 5th.
You know what's stupid about this?
What?
Every time, like, I was hoping, like, because I loved the third game, I was hoping they're going to make a Pikmin 4, and one day they'll make a Pikmin 4, and then when I finally gave up, I was like, they're not making Pikmin 4. It's hopeless. They're never going to do anything with it. Then they made Pikmin. What was it called? Hey Pikmin, and it taught me, and then they made the freaking Pikmin Go app.
Oh, yeah.
Boston taunted me, and then they made Pikmin 3 Deluxe, which I loved, and I was like, it's going to be the last thing we get out of this franchise. Oh, it's over. And then they announced Pikmin 4, and I wanted to kill Masahiro Sakurai.
Oh, no.
Oh my god. You waited 10 years for this. You said, the freaking Wii, they're making a new console so the engine doesn't run. He said that, and then it was
that's lazy.
We'll get a Pikmin 4, and then I was like, no, we're not, and then he finally did it. He finally did the stupid thing. Anyway, what was the lore thing that you were there supposed to do?
Well, first I gotta say, Pikmin sounds like quite a confusing world, though not as confusing as Kingdom Hearts. But still sounds a lot of fun. And second,
Please not give me the Kingdom Hearts timeline.
Oh, don't worry. What I'm gonna explain is actually slightly faster. But first, I actually have to use the bathroom. I forgot to go before recording. So, keep everyone entertained for a second, Finley, and I will be right back.
Okay. So, I made a D&D session over on Scotty's channel, and I really want you guys to check it out if anyone's listening, because I think it is lots of fun. We have a bunch of cool characters that are hilarious, and we just made another part to it, and the part 2 will be coming out soon. We have a new guest, a new character who we just introduced. It's fun. I plan for there to be like 9 installments of this. It's going to be lots of fun, and I really hope you guys check it out. It is like an Epithet Erased, if any of you have heard of it. It's a fun show. An Epithet Erased-based campaign where all of us are interacting, and it's lots of fun. What else can I say about it? Oh yeah, it's called Epithets Never Last. It's on Scotty's channel. I am the GM. We have all the people who participate in it are Scotty, KB, who has made an appearance on the podcast before, Ratty Kid, who has their own social media presence, and Callan, who has also made an appearance on some of Scotty's streams. So I really recommend you guys check it out. It is a super fun campaign. It's lots of fun. And sometimes gets a little out of hand. We'll be making a part 2 really soon.
Well, thank you for the Epithets Never Last promotional, Finley. And now, it is my turn. Don't worry, I'm not explaining Kingdom Hearts, because that would take too long. I'm going to explain something...
Actually, 24 hours.
Yes. Oh, actually, according to another YouTuber, it's about 7 hours.
They lied.
So... instead, I will be explaining an anime that I just love the lore of so much because it truly fits the franchise's title. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Okay, I actually don't pretty much know about this film. I just know that Stan sort of thing.
Yeah, that's essentially 80% of JoJo's. So, first of all, disclaimer... I will only be talking about parts 1 through 6, because I have not read Steel Ball Run, JoJolion, I have not read those yet. I also have not read the sequel manga to Golden Wind, so I am just focusing on the anime exclusively. So if anyone's upset...
We both picked franchises that we both have even finished.
So, if anyone's upset, that will be the reason, and, if this is a problem for you all, then next Christmas we can do this again, and we just finish what we were explaining.
Okay.
So, another thing, I feel like I should explain, why did I say parts? Because JoJo's Bizarre Adventure does not follow regular anime logic. They do not have arcs, they do not have seasons, instead they have parts. So every part has a different protagonist and a different storyline. So... yeah.
It's an anthology, sort of.
Kind of, actually, yeah. But each one is connected.
I actually don't talk about that at the end.
Yeah. So, and unlike normal anthologies, this one's actually connected. There's an actual connecting storyline, and you'll see what I mean. So, first of all, part 1, Phantom Blood. Basically, a long time ago, back in Victorian England, there was a man who was in a carriage crash named George Joestar, and he was in a car, and he was also with his wife, and they had a box that contained a mysterious stone mask. Two people who turn out to be the spawns of one of the most terrifying people in the world. They come, and the man, George, he thinks they're trying to help them. This couple are actually grave robbers. And they were just going to loot them. But because George Joestar has the IQ of a sea monkey, he becomes indebted to them.
Wait,
and
is that a lot or like not at all?
What?
What is the IQ of a sea monkey?
Unexistent.
Oh, okay.
So he decides...
I didn't know what that was, so it could have been really smart.
Oh, no, they're very dumb. So he becomes indebted to these people and basically makes a kind of deal and with arrangements where basically once the two die, their son will be adopted into George's family, which consists of his wife is now dead, so all he has with him is his son, Jonathan Joestar, and this is our protagonist. He's essentially a large man with a gentlemanly personality. And by gentlemanly, I mean he's British. He's British, but he likes to punch people. So basically,
that sounds just like a British person.
Yeah, pretty much. But he's built like large. He's built large.
It's interesting how every culture we've built up to be like really mean. In reality, just all of them are mean.
True.
Including that.
Yeah, true. So, one day, a carriage comes because the man Dario, by the way...
Everyone except Canada.
True. So, yeah. So, one day, Dario Brando, the guy who, quote-unquote, saved George's life, he passes away and gives a will to his son. And I bet you're wondering, who is this son? It is none other than Dio Brando. If you've heard anything about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it's either Stans or you've heard about Dio.
Never heard of him.
Okay, Dio is essentially, I think the best way to put it is a threat to humanity and a terror on society. Why do I say this? Well, the first thing he does when he steps out of the carriage is kick a dog.
Yeah.
So, essentially, Dio's whole desire when he's adopted is to take over the Joestar fortune. Sorry. He wants to take over the Joestar fortune because he lived his whole life as an intelligent street rat. Like, he grew up in complete poverty, his father's an alcoholic, his mom died at some point, and Dio, all he really had for him was his cunning and intelligence. So, he's going to take the Joestar fortune by doing two things. First, using the poison he got from an Asian apothecary to slowly kill George Joestar. And the second thing he'll do is basically mentally cripple Jonathan by doing things like bullying him in public, burning his dog in a furnace, and forcing himself onto Jonathan's girlfriend, Irina. Yeah, Dio's the worst.
I don't like him.
No.
Guy sounds like a real Lobo.
He is, basically. And eventually...
I just realized how many times we've actually talked about Lobo on this podcast. Just an odd amount.
Yeah, true. So, yeah, Jonathan is rightfully upset at this, so he decides to do the gentlemanly thing. Burst into his own mansion, charge at Dio while screaming at him, and punch him until blood splatters along the wall. Which that same wall also had the stone mask I mentioned before, and it just weirdly reacts. So, cut to like a couple years in the future, and we do learn a little bit about the mask. It becomes more apparent about its purpose and existence in part 2. But for now here, it essentially, when someone wears the mask and then gets a little bit of blood on it, spikes protrude out of the mask and into a person's skull, and from there it turns a person into a vampire. Although I kind of have to explain this now, it is not an actual vampire. You're a vampire in the sense of you have fangs and you're weak to sunlight. But outside of that, you don't really have any other vampiric traits. Like, you can still show up in...
a freaking garbage vampire.
Well, technically, the term is not a vampire, you're a stone mask person. So, although you can still drain blood out of people...
You're just a freaking pale dude with fangs who gets freaking burned by the sun.
Well, not burned, instantly disintegrated. And they can still drink blood, but not through their fangs, through their fingers. And they can also manipulate their body's physiology to do some crazy stuff. Like, Dio has laser eyes that can split clouds. And he can also freeze his own blood so that he can freeze people on contact. So, yeah, Stone Mask people are crazy. So he doesn't do this yet. Like, Dio will eventually become a Stone Mask, but for now, Jonathan realizes that his father isn't sick, he's just being poisoned, so he goes into London. He finds a man named Speedwagon, who is essentially everyone's favorite exposition device. And, which makes sense, the dude's got one of the coolest hats in the world. It's a top hat that turns into a spinning blade. So, it's kind of cool.
Wait, into a what?
It basically turns into a buzzsaw.
How does that work?
He reveals that the rim of the hat actually has blades on it, and then he just chucks it at people.
Oh, okay.
So after earning Speedwagon's respect, he tells Jonathan about the Asian apothecary and how
the names are so weird.
They are bizarre, you mean?
Bizarre.
Yes. So he tells him about the apothecary, and then Jonathan takes Speedwagon to tell George about the apothecary. So they confront Dio, and they're about to arrest him. Then Dio uses the stone mask that he took from Jonathan's study, because Jonathan was studying to be an archaeologist. And then turns himself into a stone mask vampire. And then immediately kills a bunch of people, including Jonathan's father. Then... Yep. So Jonathan, through a burning mansion, eventually kills Dio, but not actually. Dio survived because a stone mask person only has 2 weaknesses. The sun, and, as he would learn from a man named Antonio Zeppeli, a weird floating Italian man, he learns Hamon, a stone mask person's greatest weakness. Essentially like a fancy version of Ki, like in Dragon Ball or Hunter x Hunter. Hamon is a martial art that utilizes breathing and the power of the sun in order to channel essentially electrical life energy into objects and living organisms. And you can do some weird stuff with Hamon, like walk through walls, dislocate your arm to extend your punch, and magnetize a bunch of leaves together into a Legend of Zelda hang glider.
Okay.
And it's very conductible too. It kind of works the same as electricity, as it can move through conductible materials like water and metal, but it can also be conducted through living organisms like people and frogs.
Right.
So Jonathan takes not only Speedwagon with him, but also Zeppeli, 2 friends of Zeppeli, one guy who dies almost immediately, and another dude who doesn't die immediately and actually lives to part 2 named Straizo. And they also meet a boy from a village that Dio had taken over. with the help of Jack the Ripper and 2 Scottish soldiers, Bluford and Tarkus. They're not Scottish. They're not Scottish. They're English, but they were killed by the Queen of Scotland.
Okay.
So yeah, they meet Jack the Ripper. Jonathan kills him and his giant crushing machine, which was weird. And then they meet Bluford and Tarkus. He defeats Bluford and gains his respect, so Bluford gives him a sword called Luck, but by using his blood to draw a P at the beginning of it, it becomes Pluck. So it's the sword of pluck and luck. And then they have Tarkus, a man who's so large and strong he can rip boulders out of the land. I'm not kidding. And then, through some wacky running hijinks, he kills Jonathan. And then he kills Zeppeli, but before Zeppeli dies, he gives his Hamon to Jonathan, which brings him back to life, repairing his broken neck, and then also makes him stronger by having Zeppeli's Hamon within himself.
Okay.
So Jonathan's able to defeat Tarkus, and then he goes with Straitso, the other vampire hunter with them, who his name I didn't put in my notes just because he's not that important because he dies quickly. And Speedwagon and the boy from the village, and then they defeat Dio. Not just with the sword of pluck and luck, but also with Dio's Hamon and fists of gentlemanliness. I'm not even kidding.
You just made that up.
No, I'm not kidding. This is JoJo's lore. But he doesn't actually kill Dio. Dio, before the Hamon can course through his body to kill him, he cuts off his own head and then basically, what's the term here? Infiltrates the boat that Jonathan was having his honeymoon on, kills every single person on board, either by turning them into a zombie or having them be killed by his zombies, and then kills Jonathan to get revenge. But it doesn't fully go in Dio's favor because Jonathan manages to essentially take Dio with him on the exploding boat and let his wife survive. Not only with their child who she was pregnant with, but also with another child who they found as a survivor. So she gets out with 2 babies. And they survive in the coffin that Dio stored himself on.
Okay.
And that's the end of part 1. So, now, part 2, Battle Tendency. So, this is many decades into the future. I'm not going to spoil what happened to the kids, because that is revealed a little later. I kind of want to save a little bit of fun. But for now, we are introduced to Irina's grandchild and our protagonist, Joseph Joestar. The best way to explain Joseph is he's an idiot.
Oh, wait, that's why it's called JoJo's, because it's multiple JoJo's.
Yeah, I guess not really a spoiler, but every single protagonist has the nickname JoJo. So all, with the exception of one of their names, always has the first and last name start with the sound Joe. So we have So now we have Joseph Joestar. The best way to explain Joseph is that he's an idiot and a genius all at once. Like, he's an idiot because he'll...
A lot of people, like Reed Richards, there's a lot of Marvel characters who are really smart but also really dumb.
Yeah, but this is more Spider-Man level genius stupidity. Because it's like, the way his intelligence shows the most is 2 things. Whenever he's in a fight, he can come up with plans right on the fly, and the fact that his prediction ability is so perfect, he can say the sentence you're about to say before you say it. And then you'll say it.
For Sherlock Holmes, then.
Yeah, kind of. Although he never really does any detective cases like Jonathan.
Well, if you ever watch Sherlock, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I've seen Sherlock. I haven't finished it because every time I try to stream it, it goes into Spanish.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know either. So, when we first meet Joseph, he finds a kid being beat up by a bunch of racists, so he saves the black kid. And then basically he takes him in as his friend. The kid's name is Smokey, by the way. So they become such good friends that he even goes with Joseph and his grandmother Irina because he's being raised by his grandmother, and also as a distant family member by Speedwagon, who was, I think he was the godfather of the family, but I don't remember. So basically he has a new friend in the form of a kid named Smokey. And Irina hadn't really told him a lot about his family. He kind of knew about Jonathan and Dio, but not much. So there's that. So yeah, okay. So Straight-Zo's back, by the way. So Straight-Zo had been working with Speedwagon a bit on an archaeology dig because Speedwagon owns his own company now called the Speedwagon Foundation. That's basically both a science lab, an anthropology organization, an archaeology association, and just a little bit of just global marketing. They're basically they're not really better Amazon, but they're just, I guess you can call them kind of S.H.I.E.L.D., but not really. So, and I guess you could call them like Torchwood, if you're familiar with that. They're kind of like...
I've heard of it, but I have not watched it.
Yeah, so they're kind of like anime Torchwood. So, they eventually find the stone mask. You also learn that Straight-Zo turned himself into a stone mask vampire, and this is actually where we get an explanation about what the stone masks are. And we get the explanation when we meet Nazis. I'm not kidding. Speedwagon's eventually kidnapped by Nazis. I forgot the name...
By the way, wait, have you watched Rebel Moon?
What?
Rebel Moon.
No.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. So, Joseph, after he defeats Straight-Zo and nearly lets an innocent woman die on purpose, he goes to Mexico to meet a bunch of Nazis, and he sneaks into the Nazi base by cross-dressing. I'm not even kidding. He dresses up like a woman, manufactures fake breasts, and brings in alcohol because he saw them being womanizers earlier, so he figured he can tempt them with womanly looks.
Okay.
It doesn't work, so he just knocks them out using hormone that he had discovered he was born with.
Why doesn't it work?
Because they may look stupid, but these Nazis weren't idiots. So, Joseph just uses the hormone abilities he had learned to use just ever since he was a child, actually, during a plane crash. So, he uses those to defeat the guards by shooting corks at their heads. And then he strips one of them to dress up like a Nazi so he can sneak through the base.
Proper master of disguise, doesn't he?
Kinda. Although this time the Nazi garb actually works. And he finds out that this...
Yeah, that just makes me mad that one worked, but the other one didn't.
Yeah, it was funny, though. So then he finds the main room where Speedwagon and this other guy was in. I just realized... Wait, did I have his name in my notes? No, I did not. How did I not write down the name of the Nazi? Because he's actually important to the story. Whatever, for now we'll just call him Schwarzenegger. He's not actually Arnold, but you get it.
Okay.
So, Schwarzenegger, he's experimenting with this weird statue. He's using people he's kidnapped, and he's forcing Speedwagon to see, but Speedwagon knows what this is because they have something similar in Italy. Basically, this contains what's known as a Pillar Man. Essentially, the original stone mask entities. These people are the masters of how to use their near immortality, and their sole desire is to become perfect beings and to either subjugate humanity or kill the ones who do not comply.
This sounds like freaking William Afton.
Kind of, but these people can do creepier things than survive being spring-locked. Like, the guy who gets revived at the Nazi base, who Schwarzenegger just named San Viento, naming him after the winds of Mexico that they're stationed in. Sanviento squeezes his body ragdoll style through vents until he reaches the room that they were all in, and then starts to kill almost all of them. He does nearly kill the general after the general tricks him into falling down a well with explosives, and then Joseph finishes him off with his Hamon, which he learns that these people know that their weakness is Hamon, but they also know how to fight them.
This is rather bizarre.
Indeed. And then once we get to Italy, we meet not only a guy who's related to Zeppeli named Caesar, who I believe he's Zeppeli's grandson. Yeah, that's it, because his father was killed by the Pillarmen. Not when they were broken out. He just touched the pillar and then was sucked in because the Pillarmen, again, need biomatter to survive from things like animals and humans.
Okay.
But they prefer humans because they just want to prove they're better than everyone.
Right.
And then eventually the pillar breaks, the main pillar breaks, and we meet the 3 pillar men. Like, these people, like, if you thought Sanviento was kind of terrifying, these 3 are so dangerous. Like, one guy can boil his blood to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The other guy can create razor-sharp gusts of wind. And the leader can create a chainsaw made out of his bone, where the chain moves so fast it looks like a blade of light.
Okay.
And their names are Wamu, Cars, and AC/DC.
Cars.
Yeah, and Cars is the leader.
Does he like cars?
I don't know. He does like to kill people, though. Same with Wamu and AC/DC. So the first time Caesar and Joseph fight them, they nearly die, but Joseph manages to trick one of them, Wamu, into thinking first he tries to just play dead. That obviously doesn't work. And then he basically tells him, "Give me a month and I can kill you." And Wamu's like, okay. Then he takes this ring, shoves it into his heart, and says, "This is called a death wedding ring, and in a month it will inject you with a lethal, instant, uncurable poison. And the only real cure is the ring on my ear." And then AC/DC walks in and is like, "I'm gonna increase the stakes," and puts another death wedding ring in his throat. Basically saying the same thing, but the cure is in the ring on AC/DC's nose.
Okay.
So he has to go through a month-long training arc, except it's not actually a month long, it actually goes faster than that. I think it's only like 25 days.
Right.
So he now has to get strong enough to defeat the Pillar Men. And during this time, he trains with Caesar, who kind of hates the Pillar Men since they killed his father in front of him just because the dad touched the statue. And that's when they meet the ultimate Hamon user in the world, a mysterious woman named Lisa. And she's such a skilled Hamon user.
Finally, an actual cool name.
Yeah, Lisa is actually really cool. Like, she kills a zombie just using a scarf. And she puts both Caesar and Joseph through essentially training that could kill a normal person. Doing stuff like putting a saw apparatus on his mouth that restricts his breathing unless he does the same kind of breathing that you would use to use Hamon. And I say it's a saw apparatus because it looks like it came out of Saw. And he also tries to kill them by putting them in a pit where the only way to escape is to climb a pillar with oil coming down it. And they have to use the ability to walk on fluids to get up it, all while having to deal with other dangers. And he does survive, and he has to learn to do other things like walk on spikes. And while they're there, they meet her maid, Susie Q, and this is actually important because she eventually marries Joseph at the end of Battle Tendency.
Okay.
And he also manages to fight and defeat AC/DC. He gets the first antidote for the first wedding death ring, and he even manages to save Lisa Lisa from and Susie Q from a weird parasite that AC/DC left before he died. So now they have to find Kars and Wamu. And they do this with the help of a friend of Arena's, of Speedwagon's. And it's none other than Schwarzenegger, the Nazi general from before. He didn't actually die.
Okay.
And he's now a cyborg.
It is kind of bizarre.
Yeah, he's now a cyborg, and he just thanks the miracle of German ingenuity. So they find Kars. They don't kill him, but he manages to just run away into a chasm, and they eventually locate Wamu. I believe, I forgot where. It was by a ski lodge, but I don't know if it was in Switzerland or not. It may have been, but I don't remember. So they find Wamu. Caesar gets too impatient, and he just wants to go after him immediately, which ends up getting him crushed under a bunch of rubble and not even doing anything meaningful to Wamu.
Okay.
And, there's one more thing I almost forgot to say. So throughout this whole thing, there are these things called red stones of Asia, which are, not Asia, like AJA. They're these perfectly cut Indian rubies that can channel the sun's light into lasers. And while the Pillarmen are able to kind of use these to make themselves immune to some things, they need something for the stone mask, which was what turned them into stone mask people in the first place, because we basically learned that there used to be two different races. A race of essentially mole people and a race of Hamon users, like their own tribe. The mole people wanted to become perfect beings that could rule the world, so they created the stone mask and essentially turned themselves into the stone mask people. And through a war, they managed to kill almost every single Hamon user, but in exchange, only 4 Pillarmen survived, which are obviously Wamu, Kars, AC/DC, and San Viento.
Right.
And then the only Hamon users left were the ones who were the ones that would eventually teach every other Hamon user, like Joseph and Lisa Lisa. So, they eventually learned that there is a way that they can make themselves immune to sunlight and Hamon, and that is by using the Super Red Stone of Asia, which is like a Red Stone of Asia, but it's bigger and more powerful, to the point where anytime it harnesses sunlight, it doesn't make a regular laser, it makes a laser that can break stone.
Okay.
And it is an actual laser of light as it's harnessing natural sunlight. So, once Caesar dies, Joseph takes his headband and ties it around his head, kind of like in the intro, and he meets him at a coliseum full of Wamu and Kars' zombie allies. And through a chariot fight, Joseph defeats Wamu. Nearly dies during it, but he defeats Wamu and gets the final antidote before the 30 days were up. And then as they're about to fight Kars, who was fighting Lisa Lisa while Joseph was fighting Wamu, Kars manages to nearly kill Lisa. And this is when we learn one of the biggest plot twists of Battle Tendency. Like, the third biggest plot twist. That being, Lisa Lisa is Joseph's mother. So, I guess for context...
Yeah, this probably would have a much bigger kick to everything if I was, watching this one by one over days and nights.
Fair. So, I guess for context, remember when I said Irina survived with both an unborn child and a baby they rescued?
Yeah.
Well, the baby would be Lisa Lisa, and the unborn child would end up as George Joestar. A different George. This one's actually
I
smart.
assume we're gonna go into him in the next one.
What?
George in the third. part?
He isn't in the third part. He's actually...
The fourth, fifth, sixth?
He's dead.
Oh.
Basically, he was a fighter pilot for World War One, and he married Lisa, who was being raised by Straizo before he turned into a vampire. And he basically managed to... George died, and it turns out it wasn't an accident. Some people actually manipulated his death. So Lisa learned Hamon to get revenge, and then later just kept being a Hamon user, training and protecting the Super Red Stone of Asia.
Okay.
So then with her son, because she didn't want her son to be in the presence of a dangerous Hamon user with even more dangerous enemies, she left Joseph in the care of Irina and Speedwagon. So, there's that. So, yeah. Joseph's mother nearly dies. She's actually over 50 years old, despite looking like she's in her 20s. That's just how Hamon work.
15?
No, she's like 50.
Oh, 50.
Yeah, a benefit of Hamon is that it can...
How does that work?
A benefit of Hamon is that it slows down the aging process and gives a person a longer lifespan.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, she's about to die. She doesn't actually, but the Nazis come back with giant UV spotlights and nearly kill Kars. They think he's gonna be finally dead, but it turns out during his fight with Lisa, he managed to take the Super Red Stone of Asia from her and complete the stone mask and turn himself into a perfect being. A being who's completely immortal without age or death and immune to Hamon and sunlight. And he also gains the ability to turn parts of his body into animal parts that are really absurdly powerful. Like, he can turn into an armadillo that can survive lava. He turns his hand into a squirrel that can chew a guy's head off. He can give himself wings that can where the feathers can shoot out and turn into piranhas.
Yeah.
And Joseph only manages to beat him. First, he just tries to beat him by tricking him into a volcano. But again, the armadillo thing I mentioned. And then he uses his powers and the Super Red Stone of Asia to cut his hand off. And he nearly kills him as Kars' Hamon is, now that he can use it, is more powerful. It's the equivalent of being hit by the sun itself. And Joseph only manages to win by a coincidental eruption, and since they were on already partially destroyed rock, the eruption shoots them near the edge of the atmosphere, and Kars gets thrown off, and because of his body being able to take in oxygen and life, his body completely freezes over, so he's just stuck floating in space forever.
Oh.
So everyone thinks that Joseph dies, and they even have a funeral, and then driving up to the funeral is Joseph. And he's like, why do you guys think I'm dead? I've been in recovery for a bit. I even married Susie as she was taking care of me, but I wasn't dead. And Susie, she just forgot to tell everyone. And he also has a robot hand.
Boring. If I was walking up to my own funeral, I would have made a much bigger deal out of it. Be like, hey, man.
Yeah.
You could have done better.
He also has a robot hand now. It's not perfect, as this is around World War II.
I would have made fun of everything. It would have been hilarious.
Yeah. They're freaked out, and he's just upset about the fact that Susie never told them. So he's chasing her with his new robot hand, which isn't completely perfect. Like, it kind of goes clicky-clacky. And...
Wait, what?
Yeah. So, at the end of the arc, also I should say that in the manga, Kars is actually still alive and is one of the most powerful stand users with the power to take stands from others and use them as his own. But again, okay. I haven't read that manga, so I'm not including it. I just wanted to mention that he's actually around and more powerful. So at the end, we kind of learn Irina died of old age. Lisa eventually died of old age. The Nazi general, despite all of his cybernetic implants, he died in the war, and Smokey became New York's first ever black mayor.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And then died at like the age of 60, I think. Or like 63.
That's not cool.
Well, at least Smokey got something. And then Joseph, along with Susie Q, eventually had a daughter named Holly. And then Holly married a Japanese saxophone player, and they would have another son named Jotaro Kujo. And this kind of causes Joseph to be slightly racist against Japanese people. Like, at the end of part 2, he bumps into a Japanese man at the airport, realizes he's Japanese, punches him, and just explains, "I hate the Japanese."
That is weird.
But also admits that they make some pretty nifty stuff, like a Sony Walkman radio.
I don't like this guy.
Yeah, he's better in part 3. Which, speaking of part 3, Stardust Crusaders. I know we're over our hour mark, but I feel like I should finish.
Okay.
So, part 3, Stardust Crusaders. So, at the end of part 2, there was a post-credit scene where 2 fishermen fished a coffin out, and this coffin turned out to be from the boat, because there were actually 2 coffins. There was the one that Irina survived in, and then there was another one on the boat that was a kind of a just-in-case backup. And turns out, Dio's not actually dead. Before the boat exploded, Dio cut Jonathan's head.
Lore.
Lore.
Okay.
So, Dio actually survived by cutting Jonathan's head off and attaching his own head onto the decapitated body. So, claiming Jonathan's body as his own. Now, granted, his body isn't completely perfected yet. He can't fully move or use his vampire abilities because they don't have the same blood. But it was a means of survival. So he gets fished up, they open the coffin, Dio manages to kill the fisherman, and is moving on to Egypt to rebuild his empire with the help of a woman named Enyaba, who has a special arrow. This is the stand arrow. So, essentially, this is the part that introduces stands, and this is the part that uses stands from this moment onward. Hamon is mentioned and kind of used in part 3, but it's never used after part 3. It's like it's all stands from here. And essentially, a stand is the psychic manifestation of a person's soul and life force. And the power that you get is kind of a lottery, but it's based off of your personality. And essentially, any person you meet in the show is most likely a stand user.
Okay.
Like, for example, the protagonist here, Jotaro Kujo, one of the buffest men in anime, even buffer than his great-grandfather, Jonathan Joestar.
Man in anime is that guy from My Hero Academia whose power is literally to be buff.
Yeah, true. You mean muscular?
I don't know what his name is, but his muscles are so vast that they literally pop out of his skin.
Yeah, that's muscular.
I hate saying those words.
And despite Jotaro being buffer than his great-grandfather, he's 17. So, yeah.
Okay.
So, he's not really a delinquent in high school, even though he gets arrested a lot, but that's just because he's unknowingly beating up a bunch of people who keep trying to fight him. And this has led him into prison so much that he's made a kind of room for himself in his prison cell. And despite it being shared with 3 other guys, they're all terrified of him because every time they try to make an attempt on him, he manages to attack them without ever lifting a finger. And this is because of his stand, Star Platinum.
Okay.
So, essentially, when it comes to stands, there's 2 ways to get one. You can either be impaled with the arrow, and if you survive the fatal wound, you can become a stand user. or you can be born of a stand user, like sharing the same blood. And
Wait,
when
what was the first one again?
being impaled with an arrow.
Why?
Although it is revealed in part 6 that you can just be cut by the arrow and you can get a stand.
What arrow? Why an arrow? That's weird.
There is an actual reason, but it'll have to wait till part 5.
We're not getting to part 5.
Yeah, I might just end this off of Stardust Crusaders and then maybe pick it up in the next episode, if you don't mind. So, yeah, I'll just wrap up Stardust Crusaders. So, because Dio took over Jonathan's body and then became a stand user, because of the combination of blood, Dio had now turned other people into stand users that were related to Jonathan. People like Jotaro, his mother Holly, Joseph, and a couple other protagonists down the road. But for now, you have Jotaro with his stand Star Platinum, and you have Joseph with his stand Hermit Purple, which is just a bunch of vines that grant a person spirit photography, basically by either interacting with the TV or by breaking a Polaroid camera, he can create an image that he's trying to find.
Okay.
And then...
Oh, by the way, I started on the thumbnail. It is going way better than I thought it was going to.
That's good. So, alongside that, Joseph has been recruiting other people to help him. And by other people, I mean he got one guy from Egypt named Muhammad Abdul, whose stand is Magician Red, which is a giant chicken that can create fire.
So weird.
Yeah. And Joseph is basically asking and begging Jotaro to help him defeat Dio, the ultimate enemy of the Joestar bloodline. And Jotaro's like, nah, I'm good, it's not my problem. And then his mother goes into a coma, kind of.
Okay.
Basically, her body, while it is developing a stand, she is not physically able to have a stand. So by the time she creates it, it'll kill her. So the only way that they can stop it is if they kill Dio. And they only have 30 days to do so. So he reluctantly goes along with his grandfather and friend Abdul, alongside an agent of Dio who tried to kill them named Kakyoin, with his stand Hierophant Green, because Dio has now learned the ability to create flesh buds made of his own skin cells that can be implanted into your brain and mind control you.
Oh, that is gross. I don't like that.
Yeah. So they make their way as the Stardust Crusaders to fight to kill Dio in Egypt. They don't know what his stand is, and also I should point out that the theme in part 3 for naming stands is that they're named after two different things. In the first part of Stardust Crusaders, they're all named after the tarot cards. That's why you have Star Platinum, Magician Red, Hermit Purple, and Hierophant Green.
Okay.
And later stands named Silver Chariot, the Hanged Man, the Emperor, Tower of Grey, stuff like that.
Okay.
So, also, speaking on Silver Chariot, one of the people they eventually have to fight that's an ally of Dio is a man named Jean-Pierre Polnareff, a Frenchman who originally went to Dio to try and see if he can help him with something, but then gets mind controlled. Abdul also almost got mind controlled, but he managed to run away. So they fight Polnareff, they beat him, rip the flesh bud out, and we learn more about Polnareff, how he's actually on a quest of sorts to find the man who killed his sister. The only thing he knows about the guy is that when he met her, he had a rain not hitting his body, like it was kind of bouncing off him with an invisible force, and he had 2 left hands.
Oh.
So, yeah. So he's actually he's a stand user, and Polnareff decides to go along with Jotaro and everyone to apologize for nearly trying to kill them, but also to see if he can, during their journeys, find the man who killed his sister. He does. He eventually does. It leads to Abdul dying, but he does eventually manage to kill the guy who killed his sister, who turned out to be that old woman and Yaba's son. So that's not a good thing. She's also a stand user, by the way.
Everyone of this is a stand user.
Yeah. So the reason why I wanted to finish up Stardust Crusaders is because for the most part I can skip a lot of it. So I'm just gonna be skipping through a bunch. So they eventually make it to Egypt, and here they meet another set of stand users whose stands are named after Egyptian gods. So you've got ones like Anubis, you've got Osiris, you have Amut, you have the first one they meet being Geb, which is a hand made of water that can move along the ground.
Okay.
And they also meet a new ally. Also, Abdul's not actually dead. He was shot in the head, but he managed to survive. Just because...
how people live in these... People die in, like, the most horrible ways that they come back.
Yeah. He was shot with a stand called the Emperor, which is a gun with bullets that can be...
I tried... Like, I feel like when people, like, die, there's like, oh, they're not actually dead. I feel like that has been so done to death.
Yeah, true. Especially by Marvel and Star Wars.
That's why when I write stories like that, I try my very best to not do that.
Yeah. So, Abdul's alive, and they managed to get a new stand user named Iggy, with his stand The Fool, which is made... Yeah, Iggy's a dog.
Never mind.
He's a Boston Terrier who likes coffee-flavored gum, farts on everyone's face, and his stand is made of sand.
I don't like him anymore.
Oh, everyone loves him. He's a very fun dog. He's competent also. Like, he's smarter than he looks. So, yeah. So they make their way through Egypt. They fight a bunch of stand users, which are, for the most part, kind of gimmick-based, which a lot of Dio's stand users are. Like, very few are just direct attackers. Although one of the stands is just a spirit within a sword that can possess people. That's kind of cool. And they eventually find Dio's hideout. And when they're there, they meet the only person whose stand isn't named after a zodiac card, a tarot card, or an Egyptian god. His name is Vanilla Ice, and his stand is called Cream.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not kidding. It's actually called Vanilla Ice, and his stand is called Cream. And it has the power to phase in and out of perception and destroy anything that it touches. And he also manages to kill both Iggy and Abdul. He is killed. He's killed by Polnareff, and then with the backup from Kakyoin, Joseph, and Jotaro, they encounter Dio. Now, no one knows what his stand is. They only know the name of his stand, The World.
Hasn't Dio been in every single one of these?
He's the ultimate enemy of the Joestar family.
Okay.
So it makes sense.
There's a lot of people have died of old age, and he hasn't.
Well, he is a Stone Mask vampire. They're removed from age.
Right.
So, yeah. So, want to know what Dio's stand is?
Yes.
It has the power to stop time.
Okay.
And only he or other people with the same power can move and stop time. And
So other people can have the same power?
Kind of. I'll get to that in a little bit. And any form of kinetic energy delivered to someone during the stopped time is immediately thrown at them all at once. And and one of his favorite things to do is throw knives at people and stop time, and then reactivate time to have them all impale him.
Okay.
So, yeah. And they only know this because Kakyoin manages to sacrifice himself and send a message by destroying a clock. So yeah, Kakyoin's also dead. For real this time. Same with Iggy and Abdul. So now it's just up...
won't be coming back.
Yeah, so now it's up to Polnareff, Joseph, and Jotaro. Now, this whole time, I have never actually said what Jotaro's stand does. I also never said what Silver Chariot or Hierophant Green do, but who cares? The only thing you need to know is that Hierophant Green has an attack called Emerald Splash that has a whole joke about how it cannot be deflected. That's basically it. So, also, Dio does actually have a plan with them here. He doesn't just want to kill them, he wants to suck the blood out of either Joseph or Jotaro, because if he can get enough blood in himself, then he can fully assimilate himself into Jonathan's body. And if he drinks Joestar blood, he can speed up the process permanently and gain complete control over Jonathan's body, even regaining his vampire abilities, even though we never see him use any of his vampire abilities.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, during the fight with Dio and Jotaro, because Joseph's kind of rendered unconscious and Polnareff is useless against Dio's time stop and vampire blood. Also, even though they don't have Hamon, there is another weakness that Dio has, which is the same weakness every stand user has, where if you can kill the stand, you can kill the stand user. And the only thing that can harm a stand is a stand. And the only thing that can see a stand is a stand user.
Okay.
So it's kind of a secret power system kind of world. There's a secret world power system where only some people can see what's going on. Like Jujutsu Kaisen or Hunter x Hunter.
Or Harry Potter, or Magnus Chase, or the Eddie freaking Rick Riordan novel.
True, although people could still see magic in Harry Potter. It's just they're not allowed to show magic.
Secret.
Yeah, but they're not. Yeah, but it's not like in the sense of the mist in Percy Jackson. It's like people can still see magic, they're just not allowed to show people magic. So, moving on. So, here, during the fight between Jotaro and Dio, we learn something about Jotaro's stand. Star Platinum is the same stand as the world. It's the same range, it's the same speed, it's the same type, it's the same power. They're the same stand. Because Jotaro inherited it through Jonathan's body after Dio took it over. Which means that Jotaro can move in stopped time. Although only for, brief moments. Although eventually, as the battle goes on, not only do his moments become longer, but he eventually steals stopped time from Dio and takes the world. So now Jotaro can stop time.
Okay.
Also, another thing to say with stop time is that there is a time limit, but the more you use it, the longer the time limit gets.
Okay.
So it is powerful. So after nearly getting killed with a road roller, he eventually kills Dio. And even though it was thought that Joseph also died, I almost forgot to mention that where Dio managed to drink blood out of Joseph's body.
Let me guess, he's not dead. No one dies.
Well, technically, Jotaro brings him back to life because he uses his stand's ability to phase through his body to get his blood pumping through his heart again. So they do some blood transfusions with Jotaro and whatever bags they have in the ambulance, and Joseph comes back to life. And they all think he's possessed by Dio, but he was just doing a joke.
Okay.
So Holly's alive, Polnareff goes on a kind of journey of self-discovery while also studying the arrow, and Joseph is still alive. He's going to be alive in the next part.
Okay.
And that is essentially the end for Stardust Crusaders. There are 3 more parts, but we could always save those for next month's episode.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay, in that case, we have been going for about an hour and a half now. So, I think this is a good place to end this holiday special. Don't you agree?
Yep.
Yeah. So, let's do our intro now. Thank you all so much for listening in to the Common Sense... What?
You said intro.
Oh, I meant outro. Thank you all so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Common Sense Podcast. If you enjoyed what you had heard, be sure to subscribe. Comment down below since we love to connect with you guys. Like this kind of content so you know this is what you want to see. And don't forget to hit the bell so you know when our videos go up. And until next time, I hope you all had a very merry holiday.